When it comes to weight loss, you don't need more advice. You need more of what works. That's Weight Watchers, designed for one thing: better weight loss results. With real coaches who show up week after week and host workshops and Q&As on a schedule that works for you. And real tools designed to take the guesswork out of what to eat, how to move, and how to build habits that actually last. Because real results don't just come from more advice. They come from the support to follow through. That's why Weight Watchers Core Plus members lose 3.5 times more weight than people who do it on their own. Get more of what works with Weight Watchers Core Plus. More tools, more support, more personalization, more of what actually works. Get started today at WeightWatchers.com. In a 6-month clinical trial of over 370 people, those using Weight Watchers saw significantly better results than those following standard nutritional advice alone. See the 2025 study published in the AJCN.
Wednesday mornings at this time, we take a moment to mind Ottawa's business. Well, that's what they do at the Blacklocks Reporter, the only reporter-owned and operated newsroom covering our nation's capital. You can find them online, blacklocks.ca. Well worth your subscription. And the managing editor there joins us every Wednesday morning at this time for a conversation about some of the stories that the Blacklocks Reporter is following. Tom Korski is said managing editor. Good morning, Tom.
Good morning, Mike.
What is going on at Canada Post?
Well, they're in need of constant refinancing to meet their overhead, just to meet expenses, really to avoid insolvency. The cabinet on March 30th rolled over two-thirds of $1 billion in financing, $672 million. And the order was not clear from Cabinet. Canada Post says it wasn't new money, it was elapsed appropriations given budget year differences in funding. But either way, they are now reliant on these zero-interest, no-payment schedule loans, air quotes, loans from Cabinet, now into 2027. At the same time, Mike, there's been discussion, but Cabinet won't release this. Management has talked about responding to what the direction from the Department of Public Works, which oversees Canada Post, to cut the fat. I quote the minister accurately. And they're looking, for instance, at rural closures. Thousands of post offices could be up. Tens of thousands of jobs are on the through attrition, according to their annual report. I'm with you. Like, this is a public institution and Business Confederation. How about some forthcoming data from Cabinet? What's happening? Where are you going? How much? When? What? How? And they just won't do it.
Well, and are we even encouraging them to do that? It's millions and hundreds of millions after hundreds of millions here, Tom.
It is. And the problem is, this is a political hot potato. It really is. People say, well, I don't even use the post office anymore. But a lot of people who do care about it a lot. For instance, small business or people in country ridings. You look at those post offices in the rural areas. 3 to 6 million people live in districts where really the only federal presence in the municipality or county is the post office. And so you know that you're going to get blowback when those people hear the news that the moratorium has been lifted and their office is going to be closed. Mike, if it was easy, anyone would have done this. Harper, in the day, this is now ancient history, commissioned some research into privatization. Whatever the solution is, silence is not working, and we have a secret isn't working. They're trying to avoid blowback, and it's just going to end badly. But I agree with you. The why Cabinet is being obtuse, deliberately obtuse, while they award these hundreds of billions of dollars in no-interest loans to keep the doors open, it's beyond comprehension.
Okay, let's keep our eyes on the dollar signs here for another moment, Tom, because we've had our elbows up. We responded to U.S. tariffs with counter tariffs of our own. But how did those counter tariffs affect our Canadian economy?
This was actually fascinating. The Bank of Canada got real excited about this because they said, well, rarely in a blue moon do you get a chance to actually see what happens in terms of the impact of tariffs on the economy. And so there was that period, approximately 6 months last year, when Cabinet imposed 25% counter tariffs on U.S. goods from appliances to orange juice, about $30 billion. What happened? It turns out that most retailers, wholesalers, most companies absorb most of the cost. Only about 6% of those tariffs wound up in retail prices. And retailers and manufacturers, the rest of them, really ate the cost on the rest of it. This has been, there's fascinating research on this, Mike. Years ago, do you remember when we had like a 64-cent dollar? The Senate actually studied this. Why did people who imported, for instance, a Brooks Brothers suit from New York, not increase their price dollar for dollar, resulting in a 45% increase? Because they knew people wouldn't pay. So this is the problem with tariffs. They're very destructive. Consumers don't get the hit right off the top, but companies will absorb the cost for as long as they can, but then it becomes very dangerous. Fascinating study.
Indeed it is. I also find rather fascinating because I guess my mind just works in weird ways, but rabbits and hamsters and others, oh my, the National Research Council of Canada is still into live testing on animals?
And you say, who cares about that? I'll tell you who does. Over 66,000 people who petitioned the Department of Health against this 3 years ago. Number one topic in letters, emails, and correspondence to the Department of Health involved live animal testing. Mrs. Harper, in the day, this goes way back to 2012, endorsed a Senate bill to restrict live animal testing in federal labs and in the cosmetics industry in particular. There's been legislation on this. What did the National Research Council do when no one was looking? Just yesterday, they issued an advance contract notice. They want to buy more than $1 million worth of adorable bunnies and hamsters and assorted rats and mice, which people care less about, from a lab in a suburb of Montreal for their biologics research program. But I'll tell you, people who care about animal testing care a lot, kind of like the post office, and they're going to get steamed about this. It's astonishing, Mike, the volume of correspondence on this. MPs really get it when people hear about this.
I find it rather astonishing, Tom, that we live in an era, as we do today, where there are members of the media who are either accredited or blacklisted by our federal government.
Isn't that something? They had a secret meeting. We see this through access to information. It was on the 10th of March. And what happened at that secret meeting? Members of the Privy Council, that's the Prime Minister's staff, and Treasury Board, Revenue Agency, Department of Foreign Affairs and Immigration, they had a secret meeting. And the meeting was to discuss who would be, you're correct, air quotes, accredited. Cabinet is having a problem with the Internet. They already have problems with freewheeling communications medium, like, for instance, talk radio. And Internet has really been vexing them. It's not like the old days when you could golf with the publisher and everyone knew what cards they were playing from. When you hear Cabinet talk about Internet disinformation, they don't want to talk about the government disinformation. And they had a meeting to decide who will go on the blacklist and who is going to be a good boy, and we will talk to them. We've been blacklisted for years. It's fascinating that they are now formalizing this. I'm not describing Zaire. I'm describing a G7 country called Canada. And the irony, of course, was the Prime Minister on World Press Freedom Day, my least favorite observance, said, I love everything about the press protects what it means to be Canadian, he said. It was Jesus would have wept. The speech was that beautiful.
Tom, I always feel like I'm being so biased in these conversations because, of course, it impacts us directly. But we need to not only be aware of this, maybe raise our voices about it. And I don't just mean you and I mean anybody in this country who believes in a free press, because if we do not have that free press to hold institutions like our government to account, well, we are in deep doo-doo indeed, are we not?
Oh, you're going to have to accept what they tell you. You know, the analogy is, I'll keep it short, Mike, it's the constable on patrol and the kid with a smartphone. Cops were very slow to realize that every kid had a cell phone and could take a picture. So police could no longer do what they had done every day for years. That applies to courts, it applies to Parliament, and it also applies to media. Media can no longer do what they did for years, and the government is having some trouble with that. And the answer, of course, is to do what police did and be better. But that's hard, and it's easier to try to censor. And you know, this cabinet has a fetish for control. They've introduced 2 censorship bills. That was before they had a majority. Those bills failed. You bet they're going for it a third time.
Tom, keep up the great work, and thanks for being here again this morning.
Thank you, Mike.
Tom Korski, managing editor at the blacklisted Blacklocks Reporter, joins us every Wednesday morning just after the 10 a.m. news as we mind Ottawa's business here on the program. Blacklocks is the only reporter-owned and operated newsroom covering our nation's capital. You can learn more about them, see their stories, and get yourself a subscription at blacklocks.ca.